Oh, God, here she comes.
Mellish, the governor wants to see you.
Oh? What for? Packing up me things.
Come along.
Called me in for one last go, have you?
No, then just give your name and number.
If she don't know it now, she never will.
Shall we get on with it, Nita, without any fuss? I want to get home. I'm sure you've got things to do.
5123, Nita Mellish.
Now, your sentence is completed tomorrow, but there's some arrangements to be made about your release.
Oh, very kind, I'm sure. But don't you worry about it. Just let me out, that's all. I've done 6 months in this bloody pigsty.
That all seems longer.
Oh, very funny. You want to try being cooped up with a lot of stupid cows like her?
Have you any specific complaint against Miss Flaxton?
Apart from the fact that she's a raving lunatic.
I don't think there's anything to be gained by making remarks like that, not at this stage. Now, about the arrangements for your release.
Why are you so concerned of a sudden? Will there be a car waiting? More than one, I shouldn't wonder. They'll be there. 8:30 on the dot.
Friends?
From Fleet Street.
Yes, well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I've had several inquiries from the press as to the time of your release.
See, they're still interested.
I think it would be better if you left Stone Park with as little fuss as possible.
Better for you, you mean?
Personally, if I were in your shoes, I'd never want to see my name in print again.
No, but that's up to me, isn't it? As it so happens, I think there's 1 or 2 things people ought to know about.
It won't do you any good, you know. You were found guilty. As far as the press is concerned, that's that.
I don't think you understand, Mrs. Boswell. I don't want to talk to the press about myself. I want to tell them what goes on in here.
I see.
Well, it's about time somebody told the truth. What it's really like to be bossed around by raving nutters like Miss Flaxton here. And all the violence that goes on. And the filth. Oh, they'll believe me.
Yes, I'm sure they'll be only too ready to do that.
Yeah, well, I've put up with it for the last 6 months. And now I'm going to blow the lid off. And you can't stop me. You can't go on telling me what I can and can't do. Not after tomorrow.
Come on, Thelma, let's have a look.
You already have.
Yeah, but not properly, only the headlines.
Did you ever read anything else?
Look, it'll be church in a minute. Can't you read it out? Yeah, the juicy bits. What does Nita say about Mother Boswell?
I haven't got there yet. She's still on about the sanitation.
Hey, how much do you reckon she got paid for writing that? Do you know what she told me? She said that while that case were on, they offered her 10,000 quid. Go on. No, honestly, they do. And she was in all papers when it happened as well. Well, you know it, but Diplomat, 63, dead in flat. Club hostess says why I had to kill.
Well, she's certainly done a hatchet job on this place. I bet you never knew Miss Flaxton was a religious maniac.
You what?
I suppose it's her. According to Anita, she had a broken love affair and hit the bottle. Then one day she heard voices calling her to the prison service.
Miss Flaxton?
That's what it says there. Guided by angels to look after scum like us.
Here, Nita certainly got it in for Dr. Mays. Practically says he tried it all with us.
Are you girls all C of E?
Yes, that's right, Miss Flaxton.
Then put that away and format for the gate.
You know, I'm really looking forward to church today. I don't know if I'm going balmy or something, but I think I hear angel voices calling me. Yeah, if you're a rabbit. Yeah, they're good fodder. Well, I'm not eating no raw greens. Mr. Jackson!
Now, I'm not having them boiled to rags just for your benefit. All the nourishment goes down the drain. That's just right. That way you get all the vitamins.
Diarrhea, more like. Oh, George, Sharon. Well, I'm not eating no raw cabbage.
Go without them. Well, you please yourself, but get those trolleys out of here and don't forget the gravy. If you don't like it, others do. Don't blame me if you get acne. Go on, hop it.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes?
Have you had a butcher's at the Sandy Paper?
Everything all right, Mr. Jackson? Well, that looks very appetising. What kind of meat?
Shin of beef.
Oh, steamed pudding. Marmalade sauce. Good idea.
I should like to hand in my resignation to take immediate effect.
Oh, no.
Don't think it gives me any pleasure.
I realise that you must be upset about what's been written. Well, we all are.
I'm not in the least upset, Mrs. Boswell. I'm just very, very disappointed.
Well, I'm sure you are, but this isn't the first time it's happened.
It's the first time I've been singled out for particular attention. And I've always tried to do one's utmost.
And I think you've succeeded. Wonderful.
It's not just the catering side. It's the rehabilitation. One likes to think one is doing good.
I haven't quite heard of it like that, but yes, I do see.
There's many a girl gone out of here with a new interest in household management. They come in here socially inadequate, can't boil an egg. One likes to think one is helping them to a better life.
Well, even if they don't appreciate it, I do. And I think it's wonderful the way you cope on such a tight budget with prices going up all the time. We must keep things in proportion, Mr. Jackson. It's only a spiteful article written by one of our most troublesome inmates in a particularly silly Sunday paper.
The hear one's bubble and squeak described as filth. It's no light matter, Mrs. Boswell.
Well, I think it's absolutely delicious. And if you do resign, Mr. Jackson, where on earth would I find a chef as good as you? Do think again, please. Criticism of this kind is just something we've got to learn to live with. We all know what Nita Mellish was like. She was thoroughly resentful of her sentence and is taking it out on us. Quite frankly, I don't think there's anything we can do about it.
We realise that. And you talked about criticism. I'd call it libel.
Hear, hear.
Well, you can be quite sure that that article was thoroughly vetted by a lawyer before they published it.
But surely we can do something about it. At least protest to the department.
Well, I've already done that.
We mustn't get too steamed up. It's not the first time.
If we're not allowed to defend ourselves, they could surely put out a statement contradicting the more obvious lies.
Yes, and it would get a small paragraph on an inside page. No, I've been giving this a lot of thought. I think the only way to counteract bad publicity is letting the truth be known. Now, we've got a lot to be proud of in Stone Park, and I think the public should hear about it.
But the press isn't interested in our successes.
No, only in sensations.
Now, put yourself in their position. Iron bars, rattling of keys and slopping out make better copy. Who wants to read about rehabilitation?
Exactly. You'll notice that the Mellish girl hasn't said a word about her psychiatric treatment.
Perhaps it didn't do her any good.
Yeah, I think we've got to face it. We're always going to get a bad press from the popular papers because that's the kind of stuff their readers like.
Now, what about the quality ones, then?
Well, that's hardly spreading the message far and wide, is it?
Have any of you ever seen a television program called In Focus?
Yeah.
Well, the people who run that have been trying for a long time to get permission to make a film in here. Up until now, our department has been pretty sticky about it, but ever since this article came out, they've been having second thoughts. Now, if a documentary could be made showing the real truth about conditions in Stone Park, I think they'll be prepared to give their permission, providing I agree, of course.
Well, I think that's a splendid idea, madam.
What do you think, Charles?
Well, it all depends, doesn't it, on what you think the real truth is. As you say, there are some things we can be proud of. But the television people will be looking for the things we haven't got quite right yet. The more Dickensian aspects. I think we ought to get that straight now so that we don't get all hot and bothered later. Because in my opinion, they'd be quite right to show that side of things as well.
I must say, I don't see why.
Because those problems are never going to be solved without spending a lot more public money. And that's not going to be forthcoming unless the public can see the sort of difficulties we face in here.
Well, I think we must assume that they intend to be fair and present a balanced picture.
Yes. And presumably we shall all be able to put our points of view. I mean, they won't just interview the prisoners. It'll be us and the uniformed staff as well.
Yes, but anything we say is likely to be cancelled out by picturesque shots of the more insanitary portions of the building. No. No, I think it's a frightful risk.
Well, of course it is, Peter, but we run a risk every time we release a prisoner who's reasonably articulate. Now, we know the camera can lie, but not quite as outrageously as Nita Mellish.
Well, wait and see. That's all I say.
Well, I think it's a very good idea. And if there's anything I can do to help, I shall.
Yes, I'm in favour. Provided it's properly supervised.
Oh, well, we'll have to go into that, of course, but I take it that none of you object to my meeting with the producer and discussing it. And if I do decide to go ahead, well, I hope I'll have your full cooperation.
Yes, madam.
I see your point of view entirely, Miss Flaxton. Once bitten, twice shy, as the saying is.
I don't wish to be oversensitive about it. I'm sure the governor can be relied on to reach a sensible...
There are so many good things one could say. I mean, I'm sure the people don't know how well the girls are treated nowadays. All my friends are quite surprised when I tell them.
Presumably the department will want to see the film before it goes out.
Oh, I hope we shall all see it. That way there'll be no misunderstanding. I'm not a distrustful woman, but I have seen that programme. It does tend to be...
If they concentrate on the more grateful prisoners, the ones who really appreciate...
Miss Budgeon?
Sorry, Chief.
It does tend to be sensational. We should all be on our guard.
How many of you involved? I mean, you're the producer.
Yes, and I do the interviews as well, mostly off camera. Miss Grossman here is our researcher.
Yes, I see. And what do you do?
I talk to the girls and decide which of them would make the best subjects. We won't want too many, about 4 or 5, otherwise it gets too bitty.
And you will consult the governor about that, won't you?
About what?
Your choice of interviewees.
Yes. Well, now, if we do, don't you think there's a danger that you might, quite unconsciously, of course, tend to select the more manageable prisoners?
Well, that'd be better than selecting the unmanageable ones. Some of them are mentally disturbed. You might get rather odd results.
You do realise that you'd have to get their permission, don't you?
That's quite normal, Mrs. Boswell. We call it a release. They have to put it in writing that they don't object to being interviewed. That applies to the officers as well.
Yes, well, I don't think there'll be any problem there. Well, now, how many others are there of you? I mean, apart from you two?
Well, we usually work with a crew of 4. There's a cameraman, his assistant, a sound recordist, and electrician.
All men, presumably?
Yes. No, you don't have to worry. I mean, it's just a job of work.
Well, I wasn't thinking about them. It's bound to cause quite a sensation.
Will you need much room?
Room?
Well, for your camera and equipment and stuff.
Oh.
We could put you in a cell.
Perfect.
Well, that's about all we have, you see, converted cells. We use them for everything, for offices, occupational therapy, officers' canteen. You could have that. I expect you need some meals, won't you?
Excuse me, Governor, but we mustn't talk as if it was all decided.
Oh, isn't it?
We must be quite clear about what you can and what you can't do. Now, no one is to be shown without their permission, right?
I mean,
right.
They can't appear at all, not even in the background. Well, I thought it was just that they were being
Sonia,
interviewed.
that's quite reasonable. Now, if you were doing a stretch, your neighbours didn't know, you wouldn't want them to find out by watching In Focus, would you?
Oh, OK.
What else?
Well, I'd have to see the finished film before it was shown with someone from the Home Office, but that's agreed, isn't it?
Yes, I'm not too keen, of course.
Well, it's a condition that they'll insist on, I'm afraid.
I'll just have to buy it, then. Couldn't expect to do this sort of thing without some form of censorship, I suppose.
I don't want to censor you in any way, Mr. Vesey.
You would be surprised how many people say that.
Yes, I just want to make sure that your film is fair to everybody, and I don't just mean the staff, I mean the inmates as well. Present a balanced picture.
No, really, I do understand. Are there any other restrictions, or is that the lot?
Well, have you got anything, Charles?
Yes. The department says that someone must be present. A member of staff, whenever you conduct an interview.
Oh, no.
Well, is that going to be a problem?
Oh, for heaven's sake, no. Look, I've got to get these girls to talk frankly about themselves and relax. Now, that's going to be difficult enough with a camera and a crew and all the rest of it, but if you want an official standing there listening to every word that's being said, well, apart from anything else, it's going to take twice as long. Oh, no, I mean, forget it.
Well, how long had you planned to be in here?
Well, I plan to be out of here in about 10 days.
10 days for an hour's programme?
Well, yes. Well, each interview will take about 5 minutes of screen time. And that's been edited down from anything up to a couple of hours. So if you're going to have somebody listening in to every word, well, it's going to be a pretty full-time job.
Well, we'll try and see that it's not too much of a hindrance. I'll put Miss Parrish onto it. She's very sensible.
Well, can't you just get them to change their minds? I mean, they probably don't realise what it involves. You must be very used to dealing with red tape. Couldn't you bend the rules a little?
I'm a civil servant. Mr. Vesti, I take my orders from the department. But you want this film to be made, and I think I do, too.
I fancy it. Anyhow, I've got a cold. Why don't you ask Doris over there?
I already have. Honestly, I can't see why you're not more keen.
Because we know it's just going to be a load of old propaganda. They'd never let you in if you weren't going to put their point of view.
Well, I don't see how we can put yours if you won't be interviewed. Come on now. Well, there must be someone.
Oh, Joe, bring all the gear up, did you?
Yeah, everything except the spare batteries.
Great. Paradise. That's what it is, Chalky. Paradise. 300 specimens of female pulchritude sitting up and begging for it.
Is that all you can think about?
Yeah.
Ones I've seen weren't up to much.
Are you going blind or something?
No, just fussing.
Honestly, I hardly dare go out there. I mean, it's like being thrown to the lions. Grrr! Now, what about these spare batteries?
I've got 3 charged out. There's 1 to do.
Great. What are they for? They did say they'd feed us.
You never know what you might pick up in here. Won't catch me having any contact. In my opinion, you're a very low class of woman.
Oh, look at him.
Why, it stands to reason. If there weren't, there wouldn't be in him.
Oh, you're so right, Chalky. You're so right.
Ready, Cliff? Yes, sir. Ready, willing, and aim. Picked our first victim yet?
Right. Bring the battery, Barry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I get along all right with the staff. The secret is to make them think they're achieving something. They're not, of course. But it does cheer them up if they see you enrolling for classes and therapy and all that crap. Makes them feel wanted. I'm speaking of the civilian staff, of course. The uniform ones are just a load of old zombies, in my opinion.
Thelma, would you say that you've learned anything in here?
Yeah. I think I'd make quite a decent prostitute.
Had you met any prostitutes before you came in here?
Oh, no. But that's one of the peculiarities of the prison system. They lump everybody together regardless of what they've done. So naturally we compare notes. You can learn a lot. It's rather like the Open University. Well, closed university, in fact. One of my best friends is a tyrant. And you'd be amazed at what I've learned from her. I've also studied a whole range of techniques for stealing from supermarkets. Oh, yeah. And someone's promised to show me how to blow a safe.
So when you're released from here, do you think you'll make a better member of society?
Far, far worse.
How does an educated person like yourself come to be in prison in the first place?
I hit my husband with an axe.
Thelma, you know that isn't true.
It was... You're not supposed to talk about my conviction, not allowed.
Miss Parrish, please, could we sort this out later and just get on?
Hold it, Chief. We've got a bit of trouble here.
I agreed to let you stay in here on the strict understanding that you didn't interrupt. Anyway, there isn't room in here. God,
The governor told me that I should listen to every word
could
that's
you
said.
just
Now,
stand
can't
outside,
I wouldn't be
please?
able to hear.
All right.
Cans.
I beg your pardon.
Headphones, we can wire you up.
No, Chief, only got one pair.
So get another.
Do you want me to go on?
No, just hold it a second, love. Sure,
They keep on, I think.
Trust that Thelma, she would.
Yeah, what's she getting out of it anyway? Paid? You get paid? Nah. Think that's wrong, don't you, Bernice?
I wouldn't mind a try.
Who do you think you are, Shirley Bassey?
Well, if nobody does, it's all a waste of time. Anyway, I think we're missing an opportunity.
For what?
Telling them what we think.
Listen, they've got the whole thing sewn up. I guarantee that by the time that film gets shown, it'll be nothing but a commercial for the screws.
Yeah, she's right.
Not according to what I've heard.
Oh, what have you heard?
You know, I can just imagine
Shut up,
Mrs.
tell her
Armitage...
she's trying to tell us. Come on.
That researcher woman, according to her, they haven't done an interview yet with a single screw. Not one. Now, why do you think that is?
In my opinion, you can't oppose the favourite in the first
Yeah, but
place.
look, you can pick all the runners on the card. I mean, how are we going to place a bet?
That's all right. I'll pop up and get some batteries and do it then.
Well, leave some money at the betting shop and just phone them up.
I don't know how they managed to smoke so many cigarettes. Miss Budgeon, can we have some air?
They seem to be all over the place, don't they?
Well, I don't know that it's doing them much good. The researcher told me that the response was rather poor.
Oh, no, it's definitely improved.
The girls are fairly queuing up.
Well, the novelty will soon wear off.
One can't help wondering what they're saying.
Pack of lies, most likely.
That producer seems very young. I hope he won't believe everything he's told.
I dare say he will, Miss Flaxton. But fortunately, he doesn't have the final say. Before the film is shown, the governor will have to see it, and somebody from the
Oh,
Home
I can't help feeling that'll give a very negative result. No, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think we should cooperate.
And I've said we shouldn't.
I quite agree. I'm not going to anyway.
Oh, well, I must go and help feed the animals.
Well, it is going to give a very weird impression.
How do you mean?
Because it's going to look as if the prisoners run the place all by themselves.
Some of them think they do.
Yes, I know, but it's going to be so unbalanced. I mean, if just one of the officers would do an interview.
Yes, I do agree.
Well, couldn't you get them to change their minds?
I don't think it's an official boycott. I just think that the chief officer isn't too keen. And as you've probably noticed, Mrs. Armitage is a rather forceful personality. Not much good telling her.
No.
Hold it, darling. Da 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 da. Hello, beautiful. Why haven't we seen you on camera yet? Could do with a bit of glamour.
Move your feet.
Look, I'm just trying to be friendly.
Oh.
Look, it must be pretty rough in here. Look, do you want a fag?
Don't smoke.
What's the matter? Wasn't she impressed? I don't know why you bother.
I suppose I'm intrigued by the situation. It's an atmosphere of pent-up sex.
Can't say I've noticed it.
You wouldn't.
Well, as a matter of fact, and this might surprise you, the only women I've seen in here who attract me are the officers.
Oh, you kinky old devil.
I don't see why.
Do you want to be chained up or something, eh? Bondage and domination? Good, you wouldn't catch me with one of those hard-faced bitches. Frighten the life out of me.
Come on, we've got work to do.
Joggy, you little rascal.
That we were, you know, fit to be on the streets. Do you know? And so what we did after. No, don't. Yeah, oh yeah, we're definitely going to stay friends after we get out of here, aren't we, Denise?
Yeah, it's only 2 weeks difference in our release dates. Molly's got an uncle in the wholesale fruit and veg. Gonna work for him. We've definitely made up our minds not to get into any trouble. Not again.
You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, girls, but how did you get into trouble in the first place? What about you, Molly?
Same as Bernice.
Yes, but what was it?
Football hooligans. That's right, we went round smashing places up.
Yeah, railway carriages as well.
Why do you suppose you did it?
Yeah, well, you see, we thought about that. Well, what I think is that...
Hold it, Chief, bit of trouble.
A cut. Come on, Chalky, come on. Yeah. That was really nice, girls. Keep it like that. It's nice enough.
OK, now.
Too much. Right, okay. You sure?
OK.
All right. Turn
Yeah.
over.
Running.
Mark it.
68-1 pickup.
Forgotten what I was going to say.
You went around smashing
Oh,
things.
yeah, I went around smashing things up after football matches because, well, you know, we didn't really have a place of our own, you see. And, well, you know, with parents and all that, you can't, well, nothing ever belongs to you. So, well, you could say that, well, this is the first time we've ever taken a pride in anywhere that we've lived into.
She made the curtains.
Yeah, because, you know, if anybody came in here and tried to smash this up, I think I'd be right upset. It's funny, isn't it?
Hello, Martha.
They tried to accuse us of all them sorts of things that we hadn't done.
Yeah, I know
You were fast asleep. Have you heard a single word they said in there?
What? Oh. Is this absolutely necessary? They go on for hours.
Shh! Sorry. Can we have a bit of a hush? You're not going to listen, Martha. There doesn't seem much point. Come on. I won't tell the governor.
Made it as nice as we can. I'll whip it. Yeah, it's not same as home, though. No, not same as home.
Sheila, you're supposed to be on sick report.
I'm being interviewed for television.
You put your name down.
Well, I'm feeling better, aren't I? Cross it off.
You don't look very well
No.
with all that stuff on your face.
Oh, well, yours might look better with a bit of help. You never know. You might look a bit less like a washed-out old sheep.
They're coming in here, are they?
Mm-hmm. That what you're hanging round for, is it? Trying to get in on the act? Oh, no, I forgot. You don't see yourself as the film star type, do you?
I don't choose to be in the film, no.
Shy, are you?
Not particularly.
Or is it that you don't want the friends and neighbours to know that you're a screw? Oh, that's what it is, isn't it? Oh, what do they think you're, eh? Bloody traffic warden? Oh, you're ashamed, aren't you? Oh, well, I would be too, only, I suppose there aren't that many jobs around for reformed drunks. Anyhow, you might get the shakes.
All right, if I start setting up in here now?
Yeah, help yourself. Don't mind us, we're just having a meeting. Alcoholics Anonymous.
I know Sharon Fuller's an exceptionally trying girl, but you shouldn't let it get under your skin.
I don't see why she should get away with it.
Well, it might have been a cry for help. She doesn't find it easy to relate to other people.
You can look at it that way if you like, but how would you like to be called an alcoholic?
It's too silly.
And a religious maniac.
I suppose that comes from Nita Mellish and that stupid article. I can't imagine why she should make up something like that.
She didn't make it up, Miss Harker.
Oh. You mean there's a grain of truth in it somewhere? Well, there's nothing to be ashamed of, is there? But how did she find out?
Nita, you mean? Well, it was when she first came here. She was feeling very low and wanted somebody to talk to. Apparently, she'd been quite a heavy drinker. That was the thing that used to get her into trouble. She couldn't control herself, got violent, and I said, oh, I know it was foolish of me. But I said that I'd once had the same problem, you see, Miss Harker.
And that you'd been helped by religion, is that it? You were trying to be kind, in fact. Oh, dear. I wish these film people could see what you and the others have to put up with. No doubt you have your own reasons for not wanting to take part, but I wish you'd think about it.
I happen to believe in keeping my home life quite separate from my job here. Once I've finished work, I don't want to be reminded of it.
And you don't want anyone else to be reminded of it. Is that it?
Come in.
Yourself, have you?
Yes, I have. No, it's been quite different.
I thought it'd be a good idea for us to get together and compare notes. I'd like to say that I personally have found your people very pleasant to work with and understanding in putting up with the various restrictions that we've had to impose on them.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Now, has anybody got any questions?
Yes. Can you tell us roughly how much longer you'll be filming?
2 or 3 more days.
Oh, is that all?
No, we've shot a lot of film.
Yes, but as far as I can tell, most of it seems to be individual interviews. You see, a lot of our most interesting work is done in groups. Thanks. Well, take the drugs unit, for example. Will you be looking into that?
Sonia.
11 o'clock tomorrow morning, all right?
Yes, fine. Fine.
Yes, we do have 1 or 2 technical difficulties. I don't know whether you could help us, Mrs. Boswell. You see, we want to give a more general impression of what's going on in here. I mean, the routine things, like meal times and association and so on. Also, what happens in the wing as opposed to in the individual cells. Crowd scenes, if you like.
Yes, and the problem, I suppose, is that you can only use the girls who've given their permission.
Yes, I think we can get round that somehow. What is going to look very peculiar, though, is if there are no officers about. So far, I'm sorry to say not one of them has agreed to take part.
Yes, well, now, Mrs. Armitage...
I think I can explain that, madam. Several of the officers don't want any more publicity, for reasons that we know.
They're not still bothered about that Sunday paper article, are they?
Some of them are, yes.
Well, that's being a bit silly, isn't it? I mean, we all had bricks thrown at us by that article, but some of us aren't so sensitive. Personally, I'd be only too glad to appear on film.
Yeah, if anybody asked you.
Well, I don't see how you can possibly get a balanced view unless everybody cooperates.
There is one point I should like to mention. I know one officer at least who doesn't want to be seen on television because she doesn't want her friends and neighbours to know she's a member of the prison service.
Yes, that's quite true. Several of the officers have told me that the only time they wear a uniform is in here. Well, they wouldn't even go on a bus, for example, or go shopping.
Yes, of course, that doesn't apply to Mrs. Armitage. As chief officer, she doesn't have to wear a uniform.
I think we're only going to have one shot.
Mrs. Armitage, this is good of you. I'm really grateful.
Well, seemed to me we'd all got to muck in on this.
Excuse me, love.
Where is the camera? What do I do? Just talk into it?
Well, no, this isn't exactly an interview, Mrs. Armitage.
Oh, I thought that I was going to...
No, now, let me tell you what I want. You see, I want to get a wide shot of this whole wing. You see, so far, all we've done is go inside the cells. Now I want to have somebody doing something, you know, get a bit of action into it. So I thought we'd start first thing in the morning, you know, letting the girls out.
Oh, you want me to unlock?
Oh, no, not just for a second, Mrs. Armitage. We're not quite ready here.
Cliff! Barry, can you just flood that up a bit? Whoa, that's enough.
Do you want the lighters?
No, that'll do.
Now, Mrs. Armitage, when I say action, I want you to go all the way down this line of cells, just as you would normally.
Ah, well, normally I wouldn't do that. It would be the officer on duty.
Oh,
What is that for?
Atmosphere. Sound of the doors unlocking.
Oh.
Now, are you ready, Mrs. Armitage? Quite spontaneous and relaxed. It's all right? No? All right. Cliff?
Yeah.
OK, turn over.
Running.
Mark it.
92, take 1.
No, hold it. It's not the Derby, darling.
All right. Miss Armitage, that's a little bit fast for us, so you can't keep up with it. Look, would you like to shut the doors? You see, what happens is that the camera has to pan round with you as you go down the phone. Now, you can't move that quick, otherwise you just go out of the picture. Follow us? Right, right, and again. Are you ready, Cliff?
Yes.
All right, turn over. Wait.
Running.
Mark it.
92, take 2.
And action. Cut it. How was that for you, Cliff?
That was fine.
You sure?
I got it all, somehow.
All right, check it.
Well, can we get on with the interview now?
It is 11:30.
Oh. Damn, Mrs. Armitage, I have to be in the kitchen before lunch. I am sorry.
OK.
Maybe tomorrow.
Oh. Well, I have got something rather interesting to say.
1,500 meals a day, and we're trying to make the menus as varied and as interesting as we can. Fresh fruit and vegetables are a problem, I admit, especially in winter. Now, there are special vegetarian and religious diets because we have inmates from all over the world, and their continuous demands, of course, must be met.
He's not nearly so daft as you might think. He saw through that Sharon Fuller straight away.
What do you mean, saw through her?
She gave a very untruthful performance. That was the way he put it. She told all sorts of quite obvious lies. She would.
What about? Did he say?
Well, it hardly matters now, because he told her straight away. It was a waste of film to go carry on with the interview.
What about you? Did you give an interview?
Not today, Miss Bodgen. It seems that their schedule is...
finishing tomorrow, aren't they? They're leaving it a bit late.
All the better, Miss Bodgen. It will give me time to make some notes.
Oh, have you decided what to say?
Well, I shall point out that the disciplinary requirements of our job don't rule out the possibility
I know
of
exactly what I'd say.
I'm sure you do, Miss Bodgen. But as they only have limited time at their disposal, I think I may be trusted to put our point of view.
Yes, it's quite different from what it used to be. Stone Park was built at a time when people thought that the degradation and dehumanization of the criminal was a necessary part of punishment. I find it rather ironic that the outside should be made to look as much like a stately home as possible so as not to offend the susceptibilities of the respectable people passing by, whereas the inside was made deliberately grim and depressing. Well, I don't think that this policy makes much sense. Oh, I know some people say that we've gone too far in the other way, but I'd like to point out that we are not pampering the criminal. In my view, the reforms that have been made are the very minimum required if we are to call ourselves a civilized society.
And cut. Check it. Thank you very much, Mrs. Boswell. That was splendid.
I'm afraid I went on a bit.
No, really, it was splendid. I think it was worth waiting for that second one.
Yes.
All right. How is it? Okay? Right, maternity unit next, down the stairs, across the courtyard.
I think you'll find it very interesting.
I'm sure, and thank you very much.
Have we got enough stock for the next interview?
Yeah, we've got 3 spare mags.
Great.
I'm sure I didn't say all I wanted to.
Oh, I think you did very well, madam.
I meant to say something about the loss of freedom being a punishment itself. Now, when they interview you...
I don't think they intend to, madam.
I thought you'd agree to cooperate.
I get the impression they prefer someone else. Someone a bit more photogenic, no doubt.
Oh, well, I suppose it is up to them to choose. Well, in that case, I think we must make sure that they pick someone sensible. What about Miss Churchman? Do you think she'd be any good?
Yes, if I can have a word with her.
Oh, of course.
It's an assistant governor. Big that'll be a load of champagne for a dad, wouldn't it? I should think we will. All right. Splendid young officer, Miss Churchman.
Yes. I was thinking she'd be good. You know, for the film. Luckily, Mrs. Armitage agrees. I do think that we should be represented by officers, don't you?
Yes. She would have been splendid.
Would have been?
Yes, she's got to go to Stockport. Her sister's getting married.
Oh, damn.
Beatty's back. You'd think, wouldn't you, that someone would have realised by now she should be in a home and not in and out of here?
Morning, madam. I didn't expect to see you back so soon, Beatty.
Oh, she likes it here. Don't you, Beatty?
What is it this time?
Oh, some daft young copper tried to move me on. Caught hold of my leg, nearly pulled me off my bench. Middle of the night, I ask you. So I tells
Drunk and
him...
disorderly, as usual. She does it on purpose, madam. Don't you, Beatty? She really loves it here. Best bed and breakfast in London.
That's a good one. I'll tell that to the judge next time.
Come on now, into your room, lay out your things. You know how. Poor old thing. It's really the only home she knows.
If we keep telling her that, it will be.
But they can't live that sort without regulations. We provide a kind of a framework. Well, you must excuse me, madam. I'm on dinner duty.
You know, there are times when I could cheerfully strangle that woman. She has a knack of saying all the things that I wish people wouldn't say.
Personally, Miss Flaxton, I'm all in favour. I'm not ashamed of me Lancashire hot pot, and if they want, they can put the recipe in the TV Times.
Barry, just flood that up a bit, will you? But I'll tell you what, we'll lose the pup and use the sun gun, right?
Now, the first thing that happens is that the girls come in and take the food off the trolleys.
Right. But Cliff, I need cutaways in here.
Okay.
Stove,
Right.
veg. Oh, well, listen, I need about half a dozen, okay? And you're not going to get much warning when those girls come through, so be ready for it, as we thought it up, all right? Listen, I'm going to use the cutaways with the chef's voiceover going on about the 57 varieties of mince, right?
Right, darling, a little bit of action. Come on, darling, be a little and this one here.
And that one? Yes, father.
Nice, okay, good. That's nice. We'll take some over there, okay? I'm moving the soup. Moving the soup. That's it. That's it. Right, ready? Go. Nice. I'll have a cup of that next week, all right, Star? Keep that moving. Keep it smooth. That's good. Hello, darling.
Hello, love.
You're all man, though, you're in here?
No,
You only went out for a packet of fags.
How did my interview turn out?
It was very good, wasn't it, Sonia?
Terrific. You're a natural, Mr. Jackson.
My pleasure. Any opportunity to show what a high standard of catering goes on in the prison?
It's understood that I will not appear.
Oh, no, that's all right. We'll shoot round you somehow. Listen, the girls who are appearing, they've given permission, haven't they?
Yes, no problem.
Are you ready? Cliff! Turn over! Mark it!
More like a bloody traffic accident.
Now, don't be silly, Shirley. You just load your trolley and stop talking so much.
Do you mind? I don't like being shouted at by drunks.
I said load your trolley.
Yeah, look what you've done, you clumsy old cow.
Right, you're on report. Here.
Keep rolling.
I thought it was clearly understood that I would not be in it.
Yes, all right, Miss Blackton, we can cut that out, I expect.
You troublemaker, little bitch, you!
Call me names.
Immediately! The rest of you, take those trolleys out of here. You start clearing up.
You handled that very well, Miss...
Budgeon.
Miss Budgeon, do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
I'll be delighted.
What do you think is the most important quality that a prison officer should have?
Well, I think it's very important to remember that you're dealing with retarded children.
All right, don't stand there staring. Just clear this mess up quick as you can.
Well, most of the girls who come in here have a very low IQ, so it's no use appealing to their better natures. No, you have to be very firm. And actually, I think we prefer that too. Having strict rules is one side of the picture. The security and the comfort is the other. May sound a very surprising thing to say, but, well, most of the girls who come in here come from wretched homes, and they probably never had such good food as they get in here, or lived in such sanitary conditions. So most of them are prepared to behave themselves because basically they realise how jolly well off they are.
And cut it. I hope you got all that. Thank you very much, Miss Budgeon. That was very good. Thank you. I want all that.
It was clearly understood that I was to speak on behalf of the officers, and I was deliberately ignored.
Well, it's only a 60-minute programme, Mrs. Armitage. They probably couldn't fit in everything they wanted to.
They'll find time to fit in that disgraceful incident in the kitchen, madam. I'm prepared to bet.
Yes, I'm a bit worried about that. It does sound as if Miss Flaxton didn't handle it too well.
She did her best under impossible conditions. Cameras and lights and trailing wires? How can one keep discipline?
Miss Budgeon seemed to manage somehow, didn't she?
Miss Budgeon is a very capable officer. All the same, I think it very unfortunate the producer allowed her to go on and make a statement, as it were.
Yes, I agree. Come in. Oh, come in, Mr. Vesti. Let me give you a drink.
Excuse me, madam.
I'm afraid I've only got sherry.
Oh, no, that's fine. Mrs. Armitage seems rather put out. Is this something I've done?
I think you treated her rather unfairly. She definitely understood that she was going to give an interview, you know.
Well, they can't all be stars, can they? I'm sorry, that was rather cheap. No, it's just that we thought that Mrs. Armitage was too much the official spokesman. We wanted someone more spontaneous.
Like Miss Budgeon.
Right.
When am I going to see the finished film?
Well, I was thinking about 6 weeks. It's a terrific amount of editing to do.
I shouldn't do too much work on that scene in the kitchen if I were you.
Why?
Because I'm going to ask you to cut it.
You're going to ask me, and if I don't agree, you're going to tell me.
It's quite untypical, you know. Something like that only happens once in a blue moon.
Yes, but that's what makes it interesting.
To you, perhaps.
To the public, too.
Oh, you mean you have to give them their little moments of drama, however phony they may be?
There was nothing phony about that punch-up.
Except it might never have happened if the camera hadn't been there. Sharon Fuller was determined to make a scene, and for your benefit.
I see. You mean you've never had an incident like that before?
Well, yes, we have, but
yes, what you're... I'm sorry. What you're really saying is that it doesn't fit in with the picture of this place that you want us to present.
I think that's being rather unreasonable. I haven't tried to influence you in any way. My only concern is that you should present a truthful account.
Your truth, you mean?
It's just possible that I have a more balanced view.
Oh, yes. But I don't necessarily have to accept it, Mrs. Boswell. May I tell you something? Ever since we've been working in here, I've got the impression that we've only been allowed to see what you and the authorities want us to see.
Oh, what do you think we've been hiding from you?
Well, let's just say I don't think Stone Park only consists of prettily decorated cells, classes in useful subjects, this helpful atmosphere. I do get the impression of doors I'm not allowed to see behind. Somewhere in here there's violence and misery and despair. I can smell it. I'm just not allowed to see it.
There are punishment cells, yes. And there are prisoners who are mentally disturbed. I don't think it would do much good for you to go prying into that, do you?
Doing good? Do you really believe that's possible?
If I didn't believe that, Mr. Vesti, I would give up this job tomorrow.
Yes. Well, some of your officers take a rather different attitude.
Do they?
The one we interviewed, Miss Budgeon. Well, she seemed to think this place was just a comfortable refuse heap for the more rubbishy members of our society. According to her, the most that could be achieved was to keep them in order and keep them clean. Now, that is rather a striking difference in attitude to yours, isn't it?
You know, if I was asked to select one officer from the whole of my prison staff to give you an interview, the very last one I would choose would have been Miss Budgeon. Oh, she does her job quite adequately. But her opinions go against everything I believe in. If your film shows that she's a typical member of the prison service, it'll do us a great deal of harm.
So you're going to insist that I cut her out?
It's a pity that you didn't interview Mrs. Armitage. She would have acted as a balance to Miss Budgeon. I suppose you couldn't.
No, I'm sorry, but we've far too much material already.
Especially if you want to put in that scene in the kitchen. Oh, I know you want to put it back in, and on balance, I think you're right. It does show what we're up against. Still, I suppose it means cutting something out.
And you want it to be Miss Budgeon?
Frankly, yes.
Yes, but she was involved in the whole thing. She stopped the fight.
It's not what she did that worries me, it's what she said, that little speech of hers. Now, you could cut that out.
Yes, we could. But ought we to? The woman was giving a perfectly sincere account of the way she sees her job. Now, you may not like it, but it is part of the truth. I mean, you can't always recruit the kind of staff you want. You have to make do with what you can get, Miss Budgeon.
I just don't want her to be the only one who's putting forward our point of view.
Oh, but she isn't, is she? We've got you, Mrs. Boswell.
Oh, Joe, are the Russians ready for the lab?
Yeah, if we move, we can get them in tonight.
Great. Well, that's it then.
You know, the thing that really got me was those girls with their babies. I was really choked.
I thought you reckoned there were a lot of sluts.
Yeah, I know, but...
What bothers me is I've been here a whole week, and I haven't even had an offer yet. I mean, if you can't make it in a place like this, well, I give up. You all right here, Torben?
Oh, you off then?
Yeah.
Well, I'll say cheerio.
Goodbye.
Well, back to normal.
Oh, but I'm sure it was well worth it, madam. I can't wait to see the result, can you?
Yes, it'll be very interesting.
The producer seemed really pleased with the interview I
That
made.
needs locking.
I shouldn't get too excited if I were you, Miss Budgeon. You know, there's far too much film being shot, and probably they'd have to cut out half my interview. Or even yours.
Not a chance, madam.